Good afternoon, this is Pat Walker, Mission Winners, doing a video overview for the weekend of the ETFs. Why do we look at the ETFs? It's not because we like to look at a bunch of charts. We have a limited amount of time and we want to use it wisely. By looking at the ETFs, we can see strength, industry group strength, but also industry group weakness, areas to stay away from. Both different sides of the same coin, but both are very priceless to us. We look for strength. Let's take a look at some of these. Here we go, robotics. This is weekly on the left and daily on the right, and you can see it's been in a steady downtrend on the weekly, and it's starting to bounce a little bit, but it's doing it on decreasing volume, and it's still below the 50-day. So got to give some power there. Cloud computing starting to pick up a little bit, still below the falling 50-day. A lot of overhead supply here, a lot of overhead supply, so it needs to shoot through that. Diamonds finally lifted above the 50-day. All right, as you can see, that's a plus. And it had pretty good volume on Thursday. Here's a good thing, and this is a good investing maxim. The air is better above the 50-day. The air is even better above a rising 50-day. So this, it's improved some. So we'll see what happens here, okay? Continue onwards. The IBD 50, now here's intriguing. This is a great proxy of leading stocks. This is still below the falling 21-day, well below the falling 50-day. It's not demonstrated a lot of strength. What does that tell us? Leadership is still relatively narrow, It's picking up, all right, but it's still relatively narrow. We like to see the IBD 50 showing some real strength, just for what it's worth. Dorsey Wright, First Trust, this is technology related, and it's picking up too. It's approaching the falling 50-day. Volume picked up, needs to push through the 50-day. That would be good to see. China is below the falling 50-day, just not a lot of power there. I'd be careful with the Chinese stocks. Gold miners have picked up a little bit. That's good. Decent volume here on Friday. Closed pretty strong. I would have liked it to close higher. You can see, though, there's a tail bar here and here and here. It needs to get through these tops. And here on the weekly, you can see these tops. And I'll draw this for you. This is a great tactic. By the way, this template, I developed this years ago. I love it. As I stated, weekly on the left, daily on the right. Continue onwards. Gold. Gold's picked up a little bit here, okay? Starting to show a little bit of power. I'd love to see it take out these tops right in here and these tops. That would be constructive to get a good solid lift. Till then, we've got to be careful. Biotechnology is still lagging, folks. I mean, it's showing, it's starting to improve, but you're not going to see this chart in any chart book or on the weekly saying, oh, this is what you look for. No. So be cautious with biotechnology. Oil and gas, that's still, I like real leadership. I like to see things near 52-week highs. Not a lot of power. And there's not a lot near 52-week highs right now. Software's picking up a little bit. I do like this, that it's back above the 50-day and volume keeps increasing on it. That's good. No clean entry on it now, but it tells us that software, technology is improving. That's a leading group. Medicine is picking up, but it's still, folks, look at the weekly. Whoa. Look at the daily. Got to be careful with that. Not a lot of power in medicine. Mid-cap picking up a little bit, but still not a lot of power. We want to see things over the 50-day. It's better. Now look at aerospace and defense picking up. Isn't that interesting? What was the cause of this? Well, what's going on in the Middle East is a major, is a portion of this move here. Okay. We'll watch this and see what happens, but it's a group that's improved. Something to take a look into. By the way, here's a great tactic for everybody. You saw the ticker symbol up here? You can take that ticker symbol and just Google and find out what are the top 10 holdings in ITA. Something to look at. That's systemization. I've been doing that for a long time. Here we go. U.S. home construction is another ETF. Picking up a little bit. That's good to see. Still not a slam dunk up here, though. Okay? S&P 500 growth. Resistance at the 50-day. Let's get some more power there. IWM approaching the 50-day, the falling 50-day. Do you see the theme here, by the way? Pushing through the falling 50-day, approaching the falling 50-day, approaching the falling 50-day. We'd like to see it push above the 50-day. The green line is the 50-day simple. And as I stated before, the air is better above a rising 50-day moving average line. Real estate showed a little bit of life, but a ton of overhead here, folks. I need to pause here and share something. Please don't think I'm being negative. No, I'm just reporting what is. It's analogous to saying, oh, it's raining outside. Okay. Oh, that's bad. It's just raining. It's all right. We get in line with it. Continue onwards. Transport's picking up, but a ton of overhead supply here. This is in leadership. You're not going to see this in any book saying this is what you look for. All right? You wouldn't hear Bill O'Neill look at this and say, you see this right here? This is what you'll be looking for. I had the great pleasure of meeting him a couple of times, and the man changed my life. He was one of my heroes. One of my heroes. Which leads me to this point. If you haven't read the book, How to Make Money in Stocks by Bill O'Neill, invest in yourself and buy the book. And don't just read it, study it, and then reread it. Read it countless times. I read all the versions of that book through the years, through the decades, probably 20 plus times with notes. And it helped me become a better investor. We lost a great one when Bill O'Neill passed away. Jets, folks, look at the weekly. There's nothing here. Just leave it alone. There's nothing to do with it. Don't overthink it. Regional banking, oh, now let's pick up a little bit on the weekly. That's nice to see. You like to see banks leading. You like to see banks improving. And they are a little bit. Still a ton of overhead, but it's a start. It's a start. Every good rally has to start someplace, right? Mid-cap, still resistance at the 50-day. We need to see it get over the 50-day. Oil services, not a lot of power there. I'd be careful with that. Pharmaceuticals, there's nothing there. Leave it alone. QLD. Now, QLD's through the 50-day. I love this ETF, and the VIPs know this. You basically own the MAXLIST. You own the NASDAQ 100 with 2-for-1 leverage. See this little shelf right in here, and you see the volume picking up? And we were buying this in here. And look, now it's above the 50-day. That's what we look for. Power. Remember that when I get to SSO. This was pushing through the ADMA on November 1st. ADMA on November 1st. Something to remember. You'll see what. QQQ, same thing as QLD, picking up. What does this tell us right here? The big NASDAQ stocks are outperforming a lot of other areas. What does that tell us? Look at the big NASDAQ stocks. And that's what we've been buying. That's what we've owned. The big NASDAQ stocks. Not all of them, but some of them. Retail's starting to improve a little bit. You know, down here, up. It is improving. I like to see improvement. Silver's just basing here. You can see these tops on the daily and the weekly. And that would be nice to take these out. But you have a tail bar here, and here, and here, and here, and here. Needs to come across these tops, and I'll draw this to help you. Come across these tops, and it needs to do it on volume. As you all know, I post a lot. Examples, clean and simple base setups are the best, most reliable setup to make money. Focus on those, turn off the noise, and you'll improve your results. Steel's picking up a little bit. Okay, that's nice to see. SMH, semi's picking up a little bit. It's okay. Spider's picking up a little bit. S&P 500, it's back above the 50-day. That's nice. That's a start. We like that. SSO, resistance right at the 50-day. All right. Now remember I showed you QLD, how much further it is? And I'll do something for you here real quick. Here's QLD, pushing back above the 50-day. And it was much stronger above in relation to the 200-day. And here's SSO. It still hasn't pushed through the 50-day, folks. Which one are we in? QLD, NASDAQ 100 stocks, MAXLIST stocks. There we go. Continue onwards. CAN, that's lagging, folks. Leave it alone. Nothing to do with it. Small caps still lagging. Be careful with that. Uranium picking up a little bit. It's a relatively narrow group. Oil. Here's another oil ETF. What does this say to you? Stay away from the oil stocks. Done. You don't have to overthink it. Look for strength. If it's not there, move on. And if you have to look for strength, it's not there. It's that simple. Simplify things. Consumer discretionary picking up some, but notice this. It's picking up, but there's no volume here. There's no power. And it's still below the falling 50-day. Be careful with that. Aerospace and defense picking up a little bit. What is this related to? Tension in the Middle East picking up here. All right. And perhaps this will form a little shelf in here or something. And stocks maybe like Northrop, Lockheed Martin, LMT, could be potentials. But we'll have to watch and see. Just watch and see. We don't oppose our will. This is a powerful quote for everybody. I say it frequently. I'll believe in what I see and not in what I believe. There's tremendous amount of news in the charts, and we look for it. We look for it. Here we go. Continue onwards. Home builders picking up a little bit. That's nice to see. Boy, we made home builders back here in June. This was a great run in the home builder stocks. Pulte Homes, KBH. showing some life, but still not great leadership, okay? Basic materials, it's picking up, but it's not a leadership group. Communications picking up a little bit, it's improved. A lot of overhead in here. Look at the weekly. A lot of overhead, it needs to get up here, all right? But it is improving. Note this though, and this is a great tactic we teach. Look at how much the size of the move just to get near the break-even spot. It's expending a lot of energy just to get there. Be careful with that. Better to base. XLC energy is XLE energy is lagging. Financials picking up a little bit. That's nice to see. Industrials, yeah, still lagging. Technology. Oh, here's technology. Oh, let me think there. Gosh, MAXLIST stocks. Continue onwards. Consumer discretionary. Our consumer staples still below the falling 50-day. No power there. Leave them alone. That's simple. Healthcare's picking up, but there's no real power there. Leave it alone. Consumer discretionary picking up, but no real power there at this time. Metals and mining picked up, but look at how it closed. It gapped up and ran them. It closed below where it opened. It needs to push out these tops with volume. Until that happens, just be careful. Here we go. On down the line. Oil and gas, not a lot of power there. Retailing's picking up a little bit, but there's a tremendous amount of overhead supply here, folks. So watch the retailers, err to the side of caution. Software's picking up, a lot of overhead supply. Still tells us to be careful. And we go back to the top. So what's the big takeaway here? There's some areas, there's pockets of strength and pockets of improving strength. That's good. That's what we need to see. Is it broad-based right now? No, it's not. Hopefully it will spread out to more. Looking at the ETFs gives us a great idea of strength and or weakness, how aggressive or how conservative we should be. The M and mission winners, the markets. This is the weekly chart and the daily chart, and you can see on the spiders, the trend is still down. However, this is the 50-day on the daily. It's starting to improve. Like to see that. 50 days still falling, but it's a start. It's a start. We'll see what happens. And remember this, and I posted this in videos before. We're coming into the last part of the year. Historically, the last part of the year can be really, really good. Is it going to be this year? I don't know. I don't know the future, but I do know from historical precedent, the last part can be good. Here's something to consider. If everybody knows that, oh, the year-end rally, the Santa Claus rally, whatever you want to call it, we're all looking for it. Can it therefore, by default, almost become a self-fulfilling prophecy? Yes, we're all looking for it. If it starts to happen, what will we do? What will you do? We'll buy. A lot of people will buy. We'll watch and see. Am I saying it's going to happen this year? No, I don't know that, but historically it does. And that's an edge that we use. Just wanted to share that with you. So, and remember this, opinions don't pay, forecasts don't pay. There's one thing that pays, price pays. So there's the spiders picking up a little bit. Let's move on. SSO picking up a little bit. As you can see, resistance at the 50-day. Now, the green line's the 50-day. Remember that. The blue line's the 21 exponential. That's important to remember. Resistance at the falling 50-day. Continue onwards. QQQ. It's over the 50-day. It's shown more strength. All right. Here's QLD. It's over the 50-day. It's shown more strength, and it has been showing more strength on the way up. This is why from back in here, we bought QLD in here, and it's working. It was showing more strength. I'm going to back up here and just share something with you. Here's QLD. There's QQQ. Here's SSO. Lifted off the 8 EMA 3 days ago and pushed through the 21-day 2 days ago. Here's QQQ. Much stronger here. Was touching. I'll go back to this and show you. 3 days ago, SSO was not touching the 21-day moving average line. That's the blue moving average. By the way, to be specific, that's the 21-day exponential. 3 days ago, I'm saying it again, it was not touching the 21-day moving average. All right? You with me? Let's continue onward. Here's QLD. 3 days ago, it was almost touching it and then thrust through, okay, the next day. Which was stronger, QLD or SSO? QLD was. QLD was. And that's why we bought close to it, but not quite touching. QQQ, QLD, almost touching it. And that was a catalyst. There was strength there for us to buy QLD. Now, what else does that lead us to? Well, gosh, QLD's moving. I guess some of the MAXLIST stocks are moving. And we're going to go in and take a look at some of these, okay? Have you noticed, by the way, we're not forecasting. We're just looking for where the strength is with an open mind. That helps us. Let's continue onwards. Here we go. IWM, it's okay, but there's still a lot of overhead here, okay? Here's QLD, touching and above the 50-day. There's IWM. It hasn't even pushed through the 50-day yet. What's stronger? The NASDAQ 100 is stronger than small caps. What does that tell you? Stick with the bigger name NASDAQ stocks. There we go. MDY, it's close to touching the 50-day. This is, by the way, the 50-day simple moving average. This is the 21-day exponential, and the yellow line is the 8-period exponential. Ed Secoda was very, very instrumental impacting me on this 8-period exponential moving average line. Really challenged me. Small caps, there's the TNA, the leveraged one, picking up just a little bit. Now let's touch base here on the stocks. Here's Apple. Apple's at the 50-day, and this is a great lesson. It pushed through the 50-day on good volume, and you can see, yeah, but look at that red bar. I'm going to show you a great tactic to help you. Just because it's a green bar doesn't mean it's a good bar. Just because it's a red bar doesn't mean it's a bad bar. Now this is a red bar, and it's a bad bar, right? Look at how it closed. But look at this red bar. Look at where it opened. It gapped down, it fell, and it closed near the highs. Folks, they bought it. They bought it. It closed near the highs. That's good to see. Now, and it didn't want to pick up in volume. So we've got to watch this and see what happens with Apple, all right? Is that an aggressive entry? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. By the way, what caused all this too? They had earnings. Another important lesson for everybody. I try to give lessons here. I don't want to just talk about stuff. Apple had earnings. Amazon is still working from across here, and you can see there's a spot right there. By the way, look at this bar. Look at the volume on this bar as it was pushing through the 21, or lifted off the ADMA and started to push through the 21-day. Right there. There's strength there, and it's working. We'll let it work and see what happens. I need to pause here and share something. I am not saying buy it here. No, it's extended. Don't chase stocks, all right? Buy them pushing through clean and simple base levels, or don't buy them at all. That will really help you. Alibaba, there's really nothing there, folks. I'll tighten this up a bit so we can see a little bit more of the chart. There's nothing there. Just leave it alone. BIDU, sister stock, there's nothing there. Here we go. Look at this. Nothing. Nah, really nothing. Google, there's really nothing there. All right? It's starting to pick up. But you see that big gap down? That was institutional selling. That's big money. As this goes up, you think there's people that still own this up here that didn't sell? Yes. And what are they going to do? Every time it goes up a little bit, they're going to sit there and say, I'm a little bit closer to my price. I'm not down as much as I was. I'm going to sell some. That's called overhead supply. And it's going to be, kind of an arduous task to get back up there. Goldman Sachs finally got the thrust through the 50-day. Now, what does that tell us? Well, it's a big financial. Maybe the rally's spreading out. That's good to see. Is there any really clean entry on this? Not really. It'd be pretty aggressive through here. However, I'm going to draw a line for you just to show you something. There it is, right there. Clean and simple flat line, good volume here. What's the best thing this could do? You can say, well, push through that line. Folks, think about that. There were people that bought this down here around 295, 298, 300, and they're up already. If this pushes up a little bit more, do you think some of those people will sell? Yes. The best thing this could do, and I'm not saying it will, but if it could form a little handle and get rid of some of these people that bought down here, form a handle, and then lift off. Again, I'm not forecasting. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it would be constructive. It's had a pretty big move just to get to the pivot. Be aware of that. Let's continue onwards. MasterCard's in no man's land. There's nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. And it's going up on decreasing volume. Don't overthink it. It's not there. Just move on. Okay. Meta. Now this stock's been good to us through the years. Oh my. Well, last year or two. look at this lift here, okay? Now, it got real loose here, and then it had earnings and worked through it. This is what I'd like to see. Is it going to happen? I don't know. We don't know the future. But it'd be nice if this could base a couple more days and then take off. Note, there was distribution on this bar, heavy selling on this bar, heavy selling on this bar, up on much less volume than it fell on, up on much less volume than it fell on, down on low volume, up on very low volume, not much conviction. A little bit of selling in this bar. Look, it gaps up. I'll show you something here. I'm going to take that line off. You see where it opened? See that little hash mark to the left? That's where it opened. It was a big gap up. It runs up and it reverses down. What does that tell us? And I'll draw the line again. This is an important lesson, folks. And this isn't like hocus pocus stuff. Like what? I don't know. It makes sense. Rounds up here and drops like a rock. There's sellers came into it. Down here. Happens again. Some sellers came into it. Maybe a couple more days, it'll lift off. Now, let's suppose it does it. I'm going to give you a game plan here. Let's suppose it does it on Monday. What could be your game plan? If it pushes through that line, we're going to need two important constraints. We're going to need a good market, and we're going to need this push through on good volume. I just gave you a gift right there. There you go. Am I saying it's going to happen? No, but at Mission Winners, we always have a plan. But there's some distribution in here, so be careful with that. Let's continue onwards. Microsoft is working. Look at this. And it's owned. It's owned. It's working. It's vanilla, pushing through these tops. MAXLIST stock. Love them. Let it work. Price alerts are set. We'll see where it goes. If it continues upwards, we may add to it. I'll put this right there. Now, this is an important lesson for you, too. Do you see where my price alert is? I'll drag this back over here. My line is not at the top. It's a little bit early. I'll make it a little bit earlier. It's a little bit early. Why? If it's approaching the pivot, I want to know about it before it's at the pivot. Set it a little bit early. That way, if it hits that, you can look at the chart and say, oh, okay, this is good. I don't have to panic. It hasn't broken out yet. Let's look at the volume action. Oh, look at this on lesser time frames. There's real volume coming into it. Oh man, they're buying this. Well, this is approaching the pivot. I've got my order ready. I'm ready to hit it. Boom. That's the real world. Netflix is picking up here a little bit. There were tops across here, and it's slowly grinding up, and that's good to see. Clean base through here. Some volume, but not a lot. NVIDIA is still kind of loose here. Push through the 50-day. That's good. NVIDIA has been back here. We bought NVIDIA back in here. All right, January 6th and January 9th. We bought this, and it was a good run. It's basing here again. It's kind of loose right now, okay? And there's some distribution in here, as you can see. So we have to be careful with it. If you decide to buy, always have a plan to get in, right? But always have a plan to get out. Let's suppose this lifts across this top here. I'm not saying it's going to, and I'm not suggesting you buy it, but I just want to teach. It pushes through that top, and it starts to lift. Where could you, if things don't work, where could you sell it? If it starts to lose that high there and drop down below it, be cautious. This is not a clean and simple base entry. Be aware of that. Tesla, there's really nothing good here, folks, at this time. Just leave it alone for now, okay? Let it settle down. Maybe it'll form a handle here for a couple days and take off, but at this point, there's just nothing there. Move on. Visa had a little base through here and some volume going across these tops. A little bit extended and a little bit loose right now, nothing to do with it. There's Intel. I just wanted to show this here. Some people own this, going at VIPs, going across these tops. This isn't a MAXLIST stock, but it could be. It could be. Now, I'm just going to give you a little lesson. I talked a lot about clean and simple bases. I just want to show you what I'm talking about here. This will help you. There's ANET. This is weekly on the left, and I'll draw the line for you. There's the weekly, which also corresponds to the daily. There it is. Clean and simple tops, weekly and daily. It lifts off. Look at the volume on that bar. It's huge. On this bar, the stock did 3.7 million shares. On this bar, it did 8.9. It did more than double. They bought the tar out of it, and it lifted off. Here's the other thing I like about it, and I taught this for years at the meetups at IBD. Price is good above the line and bad below. We don't have to sit there and give it too much, but we can manage it accordingly. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you. That's an overview of the MAXLIST stocks. Gives you a good idea of where there's strength, potential candidates, but also things to avoid. I hope this helps you have a wonderful weekend. But at Mission Winners, we always have a plan.